Here's the story of a bunch of podcasts who were bringing Cubby content to the world. All of them did their own show. Unconnected, obsessive baseball nerds. It's the story of a bunch of Cubs fans who are consolidating all their shows. They're uniting, doing it together, so we all can grow. Cup of Cubby Blues combining with Sunranto, Baseball Rabbit Hole and Cubs PS Plus. With Cubs Pod and Bricks behind the ivy, they're all teaming up to be the Bleacher Bunch, the Bleacher Bunch. We love the Cubs, that's the way we became the Bleacher Bunch.
Well, hello and welcome to the Bleacher Bunch on the Fans First Network. This show is brought to you by all of our Patreon supporters who support us at patreon.com/Bleacher Bunch, especially our super duper supporters, Blake Beard and Rogue Wave Creative. Not to mention, thank you to all the great podcasts on the Bleacher Bunch. There's this show, the Bleacher Bunch. There's Cup of Cubby Blue, who I've got Sarah Sanchez here from. That's also, I'm on that show as well. We also have Cubs PS Plus, Bricks Behind the Ivy, Baseball Rabbit Hole, Cubs Pod, and the Sunranto Show. And this show is brought to you by our sponsors, who we wouldn't be here without them. That is In the Clutch shirts. I'm wearing an In the Clutch shirt right now. Look at this. Today's forecast is flags flying. Fly the W, baby. And also, that's In the Clutch shirts and Matt Cameron's Permanent Paintings and his Etsy store. But welcome first to Sarah Sanchez. How the heck are you?
I'm good. That's the first time I've seen the song with the video. So I was very amused by the video compilation with the song. I had heard the song before, but I had not seen all of that together. Yeah, it's cheesy, man. That's some corny stuff.
Yeah, well, we need 3 more heads to get in. So if you want to be part of the Bleacher Bunch and get your head in that, we got room for 3 more heads. In fact, maybe we could do expand it out and get almost like on CNN when they got 50 people all talking at the same time with all the heads. Yeah, it's all about getting heads. Hashtag chance in the chat if you're nasty. Roberto Ramos, otherwise known as Captain Cubbo, is here saying hashtag chance. So is Seth Kennedy. Tom Cooper's here. And Bill Sugas is here enjoying that we're going an hour earlier. He says it's a boomer-friendly start time. It certainly is. I have to go down to the theater tonight, so that's why we're starting an hour early. I got to be down there at 9:30, so we're doing this at 7, giving me plenty of time to come down here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Cubs in just a second. We also have Eric Wheelo that's going to stop by right now, pretty much. And then I'm going to play part of an interview I did that's available to see on the Bleacher Bunch YouTube channel. It's also on all our podcasts if you want to listen in audio form. That's an interview I did with Josh Langoff, who is throwing a concert with his cohort and compadre over in the Oregon booth, Mr. John Benedict. They're doing a concert to raise money for a trip that his church is taking to Madagascar to go help people. So that's happening on, I believe, the 16th. I'll get to it later. It'll be in the video that I did with Josh, but please check that out. We're going to play a piece of that later on tonight. But first, I want to bring on our friend, Eric Wheelo. And I asked him to not cry on the show today because we're going to talk about some sad stuff, including the PECOTA projections for the Brewers, which is better news than what happened to their broadcaster, of course, the great Euchre, Bob Euchre. Eric Wheelo, how the hell are you, except for in massive pain for what's happening to your baseball team and the booth?
I'm hanging in there. We'll get to Uke in a little bit. Let's not start on the sad note, but theme song rules. First time on the Bleacher Bunch. I'm like, if I was going to get added, what character from the Brady Bunch would I be? And I think I'd have to be the football that breaks Marcia Brady's nose. Just holy fuck.
You give me either George Glass, which is I believe Jan's fake boyfriend. You give me vibes for maybe being George Glass. maybe when you're older, I'll give you a little Sam the Butcher. Maybe you could
Okay.
Tiger
Sam
the
the
dog. Maybe I'd give
Tiger
you.
the dog. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Sarah, who do you identify with most as a Brady Bunch character?
I have to pick an actual Brady Bunch character.
Well, yeah, I mean, either one of the kids or the mom or Alice, a side character, maybe. There weren't too many side characters.
I don't know, man. I don't think I identify with any of them. I'm not trying to be that girl, but
no, you're right.
I'm not really a middle child. I'm certainly not the youngest, and I'm not Marsha. I don't. That's not how I roll. This is ridiculous. And then like the parents, no.
I'm going.
I'm
Greg.
certain. I don't think I'm Alice.
Greg.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm going Greg for myself. Personally.
Oh, you're going Greg. Yeah,
I'm going Greg. Yeah. I mean, Johnny Bravo. Come on now. Like, you got to go Greg. Yeah, I couldn't think of who. I wouldn't place you. I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't give you Jan. You're way cooler than her, but she is intelligent. You know, she seems to be like the smart one, kind of. So, and that's how I would characterize you. Every time I think of Sarah, I'm like, Sarah's smart as hell.
Oh, thank you. That's kind.
So, all right, let's get into this. Pacoda projections.
Here we go.
Yep, has the Cubs. And listen, Pacoda usually hates the Cubs. Sarah and I talked about this on Cup of Cubby Blue on Monday. And this year, for whatever reason, mostly, I believe his name is Cal Tucker, they like us this year. And they don't like the Brewers as much. They got you coming in second. 10 games back, which is where we were last year.
Oh.
I mean, once you got done crying over that news, what'd you do? What'd you do to make yourself feel good about the season coming?
The upcoming, well, this is just what you guys do. I mean, but actually you have like some statistics backing you up finally. I mean, it's death, taxes, and everybody on these podcasts, or your podcast, Danny, predicting the Brewers to finish third or fourth. And then inevitably, what happens? We finish first. And that's just what it is. So I could give a shit. 10 games, we're losing, we're dropping off like 10 games behind you. That's the projection for the Brewers this year.
Yeah, well, who'd you lose? You lost.
We lost. Devin Williams is the big one. We traded him to the Yankees, and we got
no closer.
Yeah, we have no closer.
Well, no. You lost your old closer. You got a new closer.
They have lots of closing options.
Yeah,
you always do. You always
like one of the things that the Brewers do incredibly well is back end of the bullpen arms. Devin Williams came out of nowhere, which is why they could, get rid of Josh Hader, and they have I don't know. I really think Abner Uribe, if he can figure out how to not walk people, is definitely that dude that ball just like falls off a cliff and it goes 100. But they also, and I cannot remember his name, Wheelo will remember his name. They picked up some guy from Colorado last season. Nick Mears.
Awesome,
and when you look at Nick Mears's K- walk ratio, which is one of the best ways to look at pitchers in small sample size, so relievers, he was actually like an elite reliever once he got traded from Colorado to Milwaukee. It's super small sample size, but really it looks like they might have just found this guy in Colorado who was getting rockied, and he's super legit. So anyway, and plus Tyler McGill is still there, and he closed games for them last year, and so did Joel Hyams. So anyway, Danny, the back of their bullpen is in way better shape than ours.
We have 10 projected people in our bullpen that are projected to have ERAs under 4. And Trevor McGill, him stepping up for Devin while he was injured, I think he saved like 22 games for us, and that just gave us the confidence of like, no, we're just going to get rid of Devin. Because honestly, one of the biggest things I hated is like you saw Devin come back from that injury and he wasn't the same Devin Williams. And he gave up that home run to Pete Alonso that, inevitably lost us that game and lost us moving forward in that playoff series. You had Devin coming into a contract year. So you go out and you get Nestor, who, 2 years ago, he's coming off a 12-4 record, 2.44 ERA, 14-12 over the last 2 years. But the Brewers find a way to turn these guys around, and he's also on a contract here. And we got this dude, Caleb Durbin, who seems to be a great infielder, can play second, can play third, both needs, steals bases. I mean, Aaron Boone, all he talks about is just like how gritty and badass this dude is and how hard he plays baseball. And we know how those guys thrive with the Brewers, with the Bryce Terangs of the world and the Self Frelick. So I'm happy with the trade. I'll say this. We traded Josh Hader, and what happened? The Brewers won the division. We traded Corbin Burns, and what happened? The Brewers won the division. And now Devin Williams is gone, ... And with the Euchre spirit alive, Brewers are going to win the division again. That's what I'm saying.
I know why they got Nick Mears, and it has nothing to do with the pitching. It's that if they really need a Bernie the Brewer backup, that's your man right there. Like, look at this guy. This man looks like Bernie the Brewer going away. I mean, like Central Casting, if they ever make the Bernie the Brewer story for Lifetime or make some stupid Christmas love story about Bernie the Brewer that happens in Milwaukee, this man's getting a lead role. Nick Mears.
And he throws almost 100 miles an hour. He just dots fastballs. And, you know, he's got a great catcher behind him, and Contreras, who just can frame the shit out of balls. And, dude, there you go. You're
forgetting one very important aspect about bullpen pitchers is that if they were good last year, they will be bad this year. And that is just science. That's baseball science. That goes way back to 1876. That's in the original book that the Knickerbockers put out.
The way it works is we burn their arms out with the Brewers, and then you guys sign our former relievers, and then they suck ass for you. So enjoy Colin Ray this year.
Well, at least we got rid of Rob Zastrisny before he pitched pitch in our organization again. So I do want to kind of go through some of these guys. I mean, you got Rhys Hoskins. He's coming back, right? He's still under Terang. Yeah, your infield's ridiculous. I mean, your defense is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Coming away. And of course, you know, when you look at the depth that your team has had, when you get no name after rookie, after prospect, after whoever, just come, because we get prospects, Cubs have prospects. They just don't come up and play well. You know, your guys come up and they win freaking rookie of the year. You know what I mean? Like that's the main difference. So what it says to me is like, you've got dude after dude after dude that comes through and performs from the bullpen, from the shortstop, you know, for any position, you'll have somebody that comes through that I'm like, oh, Bryce Terang, what's this guy going to be? Well, he's going to be freaking good is what he's going to be. But you don't think he's going to be just by looking at him, you know? But it's the organization. You guys are heads and shoulders above the Cubs, and it's sad to see.
Like for a lot of these guys, it's going to be like legitimately their second full season on this team. The Bryce Terangs of the world, the Joey Ortizes, and I think the guy that you really got to circle on this team who got injured last year and then really started shining towards the end is Garrett Mitchell in center field. Just another stud out there that just flies around, gets the ball, and plays good baseball, man. And got
Garrett Mitchell.
Yeah, Garrett Mitchell.
I haven't even heard of that guy.
Well,
yeah,
I have.
No, I'm looking.
I've drafted him a couple of times in fantasy, and he got hurt both times. But potential 2020 guy, gonna be interesting. Hey, the guy I want to ask you about, Wheelo, who I do think is a big loss for the Brewers, is Willy Adames, because he's been both an offensive stud in Milwaukee relative to his performance in Tampa, but also just like a huge presence in the clubhouse. And so I like Joey Ortiz as much as the next girl. Caleb Durbin, super interested. Tyler Black, interested. I don't think any of them are Willy Adames. Can you talk about that fall off a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we weren't going to be able to pay Adames what he was worth, but I mean, we lost two huge culture guys in that building in Adames and Bob Uecker. Like that, I don't think you can put a dollar value on that and what he brought that to that team and that energy he brought to this team. And I don't know how you replace that. And also career year. I mean, the guy hit 30 home runs, like 125 RBIs, flew around the ball, had a great glove at shortstop. And I mean, you're not going to move Bryce to shortstop, which he can play. You just won 2 Gold Gloves at second base. The idea is like, okay, you could put Joey Ortiz there. I mean, we need another infielder. That's my thing. I looked it up. It's like the guys filling in. We got Oliver Dunn, Caleb Durbin, and Andrew Monasterio. And
Tyler Black. Tyler Black is on the 40-man, and I like Tyler Black.
He is. Tyler Black's there too, but like 1.3 wins above replacement in 2025 amongst all these dudes. It's like, but the Brewers always find a way to develop these dudes, and they overperform and they show up. So I don't know. Like if you're looking at a weakness on the team, it's at third base, and it's that. But how do you replace Adames? Here's how you replace Adames. You have Contreras hopefully elevates his game a little more than he did last year. You have a Christian Yelich that can stay healthy all season long, and then you have the 20-year-old right here, Jackson Churio, who, I mean, is there a better young talent in baseball right now than this kid?
I mean, Jackson that beat him for Rookie of the Year might have a word.
Yeah, they might have a word, but
I hear you though. I think Churio is one of the most exciting prospects in baseball. I'm just giving you grief.
Do you think you'd sign somebody? I mean, there's a few older guys still out there. I mean, Cubs are still kicking the tires at Bregman reportedly, although Cub fans are split as to whether that's a good idea or not. I mean, you still have like Yoan Moncada. Nobody's signed him, it looks like. Did Patrick Wisdom find a team?
I think Patrick Wisdom went to Korea.
Yeah, that's right. Paul DeYoung is still out there, I guess. Jose Iglesias.
I don't see us doing anything, to be honest with you. I think we give these young kids opportunities and we platoon it and we figure it out, and you just let the defense carry you. Like, these guys might not be giving you what you want at the plate, but that defense wins you games, and they're all solid. And that's what the Brewers do well. I don't know, man. That's the one weakness. Christian, I think, is going to have a chip on his shoulder. I think he finally shut it down and did what he had to do to get right. And yet, you have to understand, he was like on an MVP pace before he went down last year. Like, imagine our team if we have him and the potential run we could have made in the playoffs if he was still part of it. Also, starting rotation looks strong. Like, I like Nestor. I like Peralta. We got Woodruff coming back. I think Aaron Ashby is a guy that you really need to circle. Came off of a Tommy John surgery, came back. He has elite stuff. And then Tobias Myers. I mean, we saw what he did in the playoffs last year. Another young dude and the Brewers always find a way. These dudes overperform.
Freddie.
They're young talent. Yep, Freddie Peralta. I like how we're built this year. I like how we're built.
On the Woodruff front, what do you expect from Brandon Woodruff? Because I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I don't have an answer, and I'm curious what the Brewers fan perspective is.
Oh, man, I mean, is he going to be old Woody? I mean, how's that the expectation? What I want out of Woodruff is, like, let him take as much time he needs where you are 100% that he's ready to go, and he can be that dude. I mean, you understand with the Brewers in that bullpen, it's like we can slowly ease this guy in 4 innings. Like, let's get that arm built up. But a projection for Woody, I mean, I would take a 500 year from him. I'd take 9 wins, a 9-9, and maybe we get him right before the All-Star break.
How many innings?
Coming out of it.
How many innings do you think he'll pitch? That's really the question. It's all anybody cares about anymore. Don't you know? Everybody's just like, oh, how many innings is he going to do? Like, they don't care whether he's going to give up 50 home runs as long as he's out there for 150 innings. Do you think he'll give you that much?
I can't see it, to be honest with you. I could see 100 innings. I can't see Woody being old Woody. And you have to understand, this dude has injury issues in his past. He's missed games in the past. Like, he's had stints on the IL before, even 2 seasons ago when he went down. If you want to talk about culture, guys, I'm glad he's on this team. I'm glad we're going to get to see him again. And he's a dog when he's out there. And it's hard to predict because you don't know how these guys are going to look coming off. Yeah. I think, Sarah, that's what you're running into too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so with Woodruff, I just pulled up the different projections for his innings over at Fangraphs, and it is all over the place. Zips projects him for 81 innings. APC says 125. Steamer says 143. I mean, that is a 60 inning gap between projection systems. So take that as you will.
It's almost like the projections don't matter. That's what
that's it. It's that they don't know how to project his injury.
They don't know how to
it's a very unique injury. So it's not the same as like Tommy John, where everybody has this time cap. This is what it looks like, and this is where you go. Like, it's a wholly unique situation. And I don't think anybody knows. That's part of why I wanted to know what Wheelo knew, because I was like, what are you hearing that I'm not hearing?
I'm hearing what you're hearing, which is a lot of we don't know, and we don't know exactly when he's going to land back on the team and be able to go and give us those innings. We don't know.
What we do know is that I wish there was at least one more series between the Cubs and the Brewers, because as Joey points out in the chat here, should be some fun games against the Brewers this season. I need to get up to a Cubs-Brewers game in Milwaukee, and early May, the 2nd through the 4th, it's up. That's the first time we face each other. So we'll have a good month under our belt by the time we see each other. We should kind of know what's happening, at least for the early part of the season. They'll have figured out kind of what they have going into the heart of the year. And then the other series in Milwaukee is at the end of July, and then we just don't go up there for 2 months. And I just hate that.
I hate it.
It's so stupid. And the last time we see each other is actually a weekday series towards the middle of August. And that's at Wrigley. And so that's a whole month at the end. You're not playing your rivals. And it seems like we're going to be 1-2, at least according to Pagoda and some of the other projection models. But what do you think? Are you coming in for this Milwaukee series May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? Come on through.
I actually might. My nephew's birthday is May 2nd. So I usually come to town for that, and I think we can pencil it in. We'll pencil it in.
We'll get
subject to availability.
We'll get your nephew drunk. How old is he?
He'll be turning 8 in Milwaukee. That's old enough.
That is old enough. You can. I believe that's the first time you're allowed to drive drunk, right? That's how that works?
No, that's the age where you're allowed to drive your drunk dad home.
Oh, yeah. Right.
You pick your father up from the bar, or you walk over and then you drive the car home. But you're on his lap. We are good parents here. There is a legal guardian at least behind the wheel. He's just steering it.
He's just steering. Yeah.
8 in Milwaukee is old enough, is channeling some euchre energy, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, can we talk about euchre? Because I don't want to run out of time. Because I actually would have rather talked about Bob Euchre. No, that's a beautiful alarm clock. Does it talk?
Yeah, I won't be able to do it right now because it's finicky. But it goes, get up, get out of here, get out of bed, and it's one of my favorite fan giveaways.
But I mean, what a loss for the Brewers. I mean, I texted you right away when I found out, because I know how it is to lose the voice of your life. And, and you pointed out to me that this is as if Harry Carey had kept going until I was in my 40s. That's how long Euchre had been doing Brewers games. And I don't know, just tell me how I know you felt devastated, but you knew it was going to happen. He's old, but does that kind of galvanize the fan base behind a certain sort of spirit? They're going to wear patches and win it all this year because of it, or?
When I heard the news, it's there was that ominous feeling after his last call, because he didn't call those first 2 playoff games, and then he gutted it out and did that last game, and just hearing Jeff Levering and just how much in tears he was after Bob signed off. It's in the way Christian cried, it's there's something more to this, because it's never felt like this is just, it felt like this was Bob's last call, but it just felt like there was something deeper to it. And, it came out that he had, the small cell cancer that he's been battling through for the last 2 years. And for me, it was just the gratitude more than anything. I felt of this guy gutted that out to continue to give us the voice of our summers, and to fully, he gave everything he had to us, and that team was everything to him, and he was the Brewers. And as you said, Danny, it's that's the voice of my childhood. It's the voice of me in high school. It's the voice of me in college. It was the voice of my early adult life, and now the age I am at now. And it's a loss, and it's never going to feel the same, and it's not. But man, I got to go to the, his statue outside the stadium, just see the fan support and all the flowers they put out, and the signs and the posters that they made for him, and the beers that were exploding because it was so cold. I know he's from Arizona. I brought him a jade succulent plant in a mason jar and put there. And despite it being -6 with the wind chill, you couldn't help but cry and just say thank you more than anything.
Sitting there with tears freezing to your cheeks.
Freezing to your cheeks. It's the things I'm going to miss is you're at the stadium and then you go take a bathroom break and you hear him in the bathroom, and it's just, he's ever present. And we're just so lucky.
Yeah.
We're so lucky. And
I would tune in all the time in the summer. I'm oh, look, there's a Brewers game on, I'm going to just catch Hugh. And he wasn't doing all the games at that point. So you kind of knew that, things were kind of coming to an end there. But the fact that he could go out really behind the mic to some extent, and at least he worked till the end. It wasn't he was calling games till like a couple months before he died. But what I loved about Euchre, because he talk about just the longevity of him. You guys remember Mr. Belvedere? It wasn't my favorite show, but the fact that the man was an actor and went on Johnny Carson all the time. And can I play this commercial? Because this played a million times when I was a kid. I grabbed this off of YouTube, so I just thought we'd play it. This Miller Lite commercial.
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down the clock! I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy. He missed the tag. He missed the tag.
I must be in the front row.
I can't tell. That was the biggest joke that we would all say when, like, the teacher would, like, take you out of class. You're like, you're going to the principal, and you'd have to walk down the aisle. You'd be like, you make the whole class laugh. Be like, I must be in the front row. And everybody like, yeah, oh, Danny. I mean, it was just so many people. That one's got at least two quotable lines that for a 30-second commercial, two quotable lines that were said millions of times, which is, I must be in the front row and he missed the tag. He missed the tag. You can do that at any ballpark, even today, and people know what you're talking about of a certain age.
So the thing that, because I Danny, I think I'm a tiny bit younger than you, not terribly much, but so I first encountered you on Mr. Belvedere, and then whatever night it was that Major League premiered on HBO. For whatever reason, there was like a party in the neighborhood. All of us kids were up in my brother's room, and my brother had the TV that was connected to HBO. And so we were like, there's this movie about baseball that's about to premiere. We shall watch it. And there were no adults around to say, hey, you can't watch a movie that's rated R or whatever. We all just watched it, like age 7 to like 14 or whatever. And I just remember being so impressed that Mr. Belvedere understood baseball. I was like, that blew my mind, because I was already this kid who was in love with the Chicago Cubs because of Harry Carey. And it was right around the time.
Well, Mr. Belvedere, I have to stop you 1 second. Mr. Belvedere didn't know shit about baseball. It was Bob Euchre. Mr. Belvedere was some English butler. He probably didn't know anything about
I forgot about that. But yes, I see, this is how little I was when Mr. Belvedere was. I thought this guy was just like an actor. Anyway. And I know this is a lot. Everybody talks about the, just a bit outside. Like, that is one of the classic deliveries in all of baseball. But that whole scene, like, if you go through every part of that scene, it is all brilliant. From tried the corner and missed, when he's like throwing balls that are like bouncing off the backstop, and it's like it is so good. It is so good. And
what a talent.
And what a talent. I used to turn to the Brewers Call, and I will miss that.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard the rumor is the movie was lacking something, and Euchre's role got added after they had shot the majority of the movie, because they felt it like needed more of a comedic punch. And that's when Euchre got hired. And I think they shot like the majority of the stuff in like 2 days, and it got added to the movie afterwards. And back to the Belvedere story. I'm sure you guys have heard this one if you haven't, but when Euchre was on that show, he was like, oh, my favorite story from Belvedere, the execs call me into the office, and they're like, Euchre, you got to stop feeding Belvedere. He's getting too fat. And it's like, what do you mean? He's like, we're hearing that you're frying up mozzarella at the craft service stand for him every day. And Euchre's like, yeah, he can't keep his hands off the stuff. And he's like, you got to stop feeding Belvedere. It's just so Wisconsin. Here he is at a soundstage in Los Angeles, and he finds a hot plate and mozzarella cheese, and he's frying cheese. Like, that's the most Milwaukee shit ever. And he's making Belvedere get too fat. Well, that's the executives tell him to stop. That's Euchre to a T.
Bob Costas tells a story about getting he had never had a bratwurst before. Euchre gave up a bratwurst, and so Euchre made him. He's like, well, it's just a freaking hot dog. Who cares? Then he ate it. It's obviously not just a hot dog. Bratwurst is way better. And then, but he had, I guess, 5 bratwursts, in his first sitting in Milwaukee because Euchre turned him onto it. I got to put up his stats a little, just real quick, because here's a career 200 hitter.
Yep.
So who the hell is Mendoza anyway? We got to start this now. This is the moment to turn Mendoza line into the Euchre.
The Euchre line, 100%. How do we start the petition? How do we get this going?
We just start calling it that.
Yeah, the Euchre line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then kids will go, what does that mean? Well, there's this guy, Bob Euchre, he was hilarious, and he batted 200.
I have to find. So did either of you read the piece that Grant Brisbee wrote right after Bob Euchre passed away?
Mm-mm.
It's very good. You should read the whole thing, but there's a piece of it that I just want to share here because it's related to this whole Mendoza line bit. And it goes through the whole game, his last game, and all the things that were and were not on the line.
Was it in the New York Times?
Yeah, it's in The Athletic.
Okay.
It says, it was a meaningless game, played with just a couple of days left in the season, with the Cardinals on their way to 101 wins and a pennant that they'd clinched weeks before. But it was still important enough for Gibson to pitch 9 innings and for the Stars to stick around and take their at-bats and extras. And there was Euchre, who wasn't good enough to trust with the game on the line. He entered the game as a career 200 hitter, a nice round number that's always going to be associated with futility and frustration. With one hit, he would have finished the career with a 201 batting average. He couldn't get it. So he finished with a 199-726-4022 batting average. It rounds up to 200. That's all of baseball in a single game. It meant everything and nothing. There were heroes and legends, and some of them defined by what they did after baseball. It was a Friday night game, which meant it was the perfect opportunity to watch a baseball game, just like all the other days and nights. And it was someone ending his playing career, only to start a new career, in which he'd spend the rest of his life reminding us of a simple truth. Baseball is fun. Mr. Baseball reminded us of this for decades, and he'll continue reminding us of it for as long as the sport is around.
And I've got chills and I want to cry, like all of it,
Grant Brisbee is a great writer, and it's one of the best things Grant Brisbee has ever written, and everyone should read this piece. Thank you, whoever put it. Somebody put it in the.
I did. I threw it in there, but I put that in the chat, by the way. If anybody wants to click on it and read it, it's in the Athletic in the New York Times. Just look up Bob Euchre, New York Times. You'll find it. I mean, I have to say this: Ernie Banks died right before the Cubs won. And I'm not a magical thinking kind of guy, but when that happened like that, I thought that maybe there was some sort of kind of like reverent moment that happened for the Cubs, even though they were, not necessarily Cub fans and stuff. But I know the fans were feeling a certain sort of way going into that season. And like a collective vibe can be had, especially when it comes to an important death like a legend for your organization. And so I do wonder if the Brewers have not a chip on their shoulders. That's the wrong thing to say, but a certain sort of kind of a mission or a quest to do something for the memory of Euchre. Because there's going to be things all year. There's going to be patches and probably posters and shirts and, he missed the tag day. And I mean, they're going to do it all. What would miss the tag be? What would that be? Just trying to call a game from the upper right field bleachers or something like, I don't know.
We just sell tickets to only the upper deck, and that's the whole game. It's a tribute. We all pile up there just for him.
Well, yeah. We should sit up there. They're not great seats by that Euchre. You're kind of behind those two giant posts up where the Euchre statue is, but it's not that bad of a seat.
No, I will definitely do that with you.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'll go watch a game from the Euchre seats.
We got to play. We got to pay our respects because there's that statue inside and there's a statue outside. And I would like to go do something and like pay my respects for sure. He meant a lot. I watched him on Johnny Carson and Belvedere, as I said, I wasn't crazy about it. He just played the stupid dad on that one,
Did you go back and watch him on Saturday Night Live?
No.
I went back and watched the episode that he hosted of Saturday Night Live. I have some clips in the piece that I wrote the day after he passed, but there is a very funny skit where Bob Euchre options his son to the neighbors after making an error at third base and then trade Cuban kid from down the street. It is a truly hilarious Bob Euchre skit.
Oh my God. What I love about it is like you see him in those commercials and you see him on Carson and it's just so effortless. And here's a guy with no acting training, right? And he just knows his voice and he knows himself so well. And I mean, it's mesmerizing, just the career this dude had and how versatile he was and how funny he was. And just, as you said, just making baseball fun. Like one of the things I'm going to miss the most that is just so subtle is every sixth inning, he'd talk about U Singer sausages and just endlessly. And the worse the Brewers were losing, the more he'd go into it. He's like, yeah, and then you can put some Cedar Crest ice cream on your brat. Tried that once. I remember that. It was a game against the Diamondbacks in '94. Can't keep my hands off it. Favorite topping.
I mean, yeah, he will be so missed. And I told Michael Cotton the other day that because I work with AI voices in my job right now. And so I think in the future, they'll probably have a setup where you could maybe throw Euchre and he can call the game for you in the future. I could use Harry Carey or Ron Santo. Now that's a strange. And I said, it's what it'll be. Like you'll go into your Soylent Green death pod and fade away, with listening to whatever you want to. And I think Euchre wouldn't be that bad of a choice to fade away off of earth, listening to him wax philosophical over Usinger sausages at a Brewers game. But, well, let
me just say this about Buke. It's like the big thing is, like you said, Ernie Banks died, and that's when the Cubs started winning. Bob had, I would say 80%, 85% of his years with the Brewers weren't great years. We had that running, the 80s with the Brewers, the out years, the Molitor years, and then a whole lot of nothing. And just to see his joy winning that division, winning it the first time forever, being in there for those celebrations, having that champagne dumped on him. It's like, we didn't win it all, but he won a lot and he got to experience a lot and he got to feel a lot and he got to go on that ride with us. And it was always a mantra, like, let's win this one for you. Let's win for you. We never know when the last day is going to be. And I think we carry that on. We do. And now we do it for Yuke's memory. And
it worries me as a Cub fan. I'm telling you, it really does. I'm like, it's going to be game 163, and they're all going to come out wearing Euchre hats. And I'm going to be like, no, they're going to play Euchre before the game. They're going to do all this stuff. Oh, it's going to be rough. But well, thank you for sharing all your feelings on that. It just really. I'm sad about it. I've never been sad, except maybe Vin Scully. I think that's another one that I kind of felt that was another team's broadcaster that I felt a certain sort of way when he died. But Yuka's going to be missed. But so thank you for that. And we definitely will have you on again before the season starts. We've got some spring training games together. We got probably some more roster moves before it all kind of comes through. But tell me,
are we doing projections?
Well, sure. I think it's too early. Why don't we wait? Why don't we wait until like the day before the season starts? Because we got a long time to go and lots of things could happen before the season starts. So let's give ourselves at least that grace. But
you're right.
But I do want you to plug anything you're doing, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then Sarah and I will come back and talk about a man named Brazier.
Yeah, you can. I'm here. You can follow me at Eric Wheelo, and then check me out at the Hollywood Improv this weekend. And I'll be there. I'll be there on Saturday hosting. So check me out there. Besides that, ericwheelo.com. And so such a great time being here with you guys. Thanks for sharing your Euchre stories, and you really made my heart feel full. Like in deep sadness and deep pain, it's the stories that keep us alive, and it's the memory that keeps us alive.
That really disappoints me because that's why I led with it. I was hoping to make you sad at the beginning, sad at the end, and so you could limp into the season as a fan. But instead, now you feel full. This was what I'm afraid of. This is game 163 energy, and I don't like it.
We've gotten to game 163. A bunch of things have gone terribly wrong, Danny. Now, I do think the Brewers are better than Pacoda thinks they are, but I also think the Cubs might have inched ahead with that Kyle Tucker move. I
agree. That was, as a Brewers fan, I hated seeing that. That's a scary bat. That's a scary dude. And yeah. And Counsell is going to get his finger on things a little bit better this year. You really do.
Wheelo, I want your take on this. Sorry, I know you're about to go, but 30-second answer.
Okay.
The Counsell at CubsCon this year felt like a friend. Whereas last year he felt like a guy introducing himself. And one of the things that I really noticed in just the way he talked to fans and the way he talked about the team, I could like tell he was starting to steer them in like a personal direction. Does that jive with your experience of Counsell as a Brewers fan? Like that he's just he's a dude who feels more like a friend than like a dude speaking from your baseball team.
150 million %. I mean, he's a former player. He's a humble guy. He's a Wisconsin guy. He knows how to do it well. He knows how to develop. And like, it must have been like landing in outer space, landing with the Cubs and the way they operate and the way they develop and the way they bring guys up and the way they send them down. And I think there's a lot he wanted to do and say last year that he wasn't allowed to do and say. And maybe he didn't feel like it was his place in his first year doing it, but they hired him to do a job and he's going to do it. And he's not a fiery dude. He's a smart dude. He's a team-oriented dude. He's a player's coach. You're going to fall in love with him. I hate his guts personally, but that's just.
I'm kind of already in love with him. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
He told the chicken runs at midnight story at CubsCon, and I was like, I'm just done.
He felt a little on edge last year. I think, the way he left. The guy has a heart. Like, he knew how he was being perceived, and that probably affected him a lot. And you can see him like snapping back at the media a little bit here or there. And you didn't really see that as much with the Brewers. I think he's finding his comfort. Yeah, he's finding his comfort zone. He's finding out who he is, what this version of Craig Counsell is in Chicago. And that's just anywhere. Any job you change, any different change of scenery, you got to find out that new version of you. And I'm hearing you say that from CubsCon, like, you're already seeing it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It'll take a moment, and we're going to take a moment too right now. So thanks for being here, Eric. And we'll definitely do this again very soon. Love you too. We're going to be right back. We're just going to take a quick commercial break for our Patreon. Please subscribe to us on patreon.com/Bleacher Bunch. Also our other sponsor, In the Clutch shirts. I'm wearing one right now. You should be too. Is that it? Oh, there you go. The 20-year-old slugger. See, I don't even like anything about your team. God damn it. So except for In the Clutch shirts, go buy one of those if you're a Brewers fan and hate watching us. And then I'm going to play the Cubs Cast Corral, which will bring you on a beautiful journey over many of the other Cubs podcasts that exist in the world, including Share and Mine. Give you a little synopsis of what's going on. Then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more Cubs. So stick tuned, and we'll be right back. Boom.
The Son Ranto Show has hired me, a professional voiceover actor, to tell you why you should become a Son Ranto Patreon patron at patreon.com/sonranto. First of all, it's only $1 a month. And if you can't afford $1, I don't even know that the Son Ranto Show wants you as a listener, because you're too poor to even hang out with anyway. Also, as a Patreon member, you get the Son Ranto Show ad-free, and the Patreon-only podcast called Cubs Pod, which releases daily during the season with bonus episodes all off-season long. Son Ranto Patreon members are also eligible to win a monthly prize, get exclusive Son Ranto Discord page privileges, and there are more perks at every level. Plus, 10% of your Patreon support goes to help the Lost Boys Youth Baseball Program as we give back to our community. So what are you waiting for? Spend your hard-earned money on tickets and beer for the Son Ranto Show by subscribing at patreon.com/sonranto. Otherwise, they'll think you're a poor loser. A big, fat, dorky, poverty-stricken loser. Take it from me and by commanding professional voice, and become a Son Ranto Patreon supporter right now.
If you like the Cubs a bunch, buy your t-shirts from In the Clutch. We've got all the best styles for you. Dansby, Saya, Morel too. Clark Fly in his double U. Cody Bellinger smoking deuce. Vintage shirts from days of old. Patrick Wisdom and Nico. You'll look sharp wearing your stro. 10% off with the code SONRANTO. SONRANTO. InTheClutch.com is your store for the most fun baseball shirts on the planet. Don't forget to use promo code SONRANTO to knock a couple bucks off your purchase. Stack or die, we need more cups. Get it all at In the Clutch. Cause if you like the Cubs a bunch, buy t-shirts from In the Clutch. Get it all at In the Clutch. Get it all at In the Clutch. Cubs Cast Corral. Yeah!
Welcome to the Cubs Cast Corral. My name is Danny Rocket. I'm here to bring you all the best Cubs news that's fit to print here on the Cubs Cast Corral. Let's start with Cup of Cubby Blue this time. My show with Sarah Sanchez, where Sarah and I talked about how much Pacoda likes the Cubs this year for the first time ever. And Sarah thinks it's pretty much all about Kyle Tucker's projected numbers for the year. Sarah also talked about the banning of an umpire, Pat Hoberg, for betting and why it's kind of crazy to bet on individual baseball game performances. In fact, it's just stupid. Also, Nicky Lopez, why? Oh, I know why. He's from Naperville. On Cubs PS Plus, Mike Waller has released 2 episodes since the last corral, and on episode 101, he says that Tom Ricketts can change the perception that he's cheap simply by signing a superstar like he did with John Lester. But he's not sure Jed will sign someone for that long. He also dives deep into the pitching roster on the Cubs and how the rotation and bullpen will be able to handle all the innings this season. And then on episode 102, he talks about the Bregman rumors and how that affects Matt Shaw. And then he talks about the Pacoda projections as well and holds himself accountable for his own projections last season. On Bricks Behind the Ivy, Jeff had on Ben Brewster from Tread Athletics and new pitching special assistant guru Tyler Zombro. And they talked all about their holistic approach to pitching development, from strength to sequencing to biomechanics to pitch shape and pitch choice. And they train every pitcher as an individual to get the best out of each one. I like that Zombro said that he would have taken performance-enhancing drugs because they were legal at the time. And he picked the Cubs over 20 other teams. Then on the setup, man, Kyle also had on Zombro. And this time my takeaway was that the Cubs have a very communicative infrastructure and that the coaches all talk to each other so as not to give players conflicting information and advice. As they approve one pitch, sometimes they wreck another one. So he likes our depth, especially Palencia and Cody Petit, who we got for Cody Bellinger, and he called Shota a top 10 in baseball. He casually dropped a phrase that made me laugh when he said that Carter and Jed are working nonstop to make the Cubs 1% better, and truer words were never spoken because the Cubs are 1% better, but they sure work hard on it. Then on Wrigleyville Nation, they interviewed Dan Zimborski, who comes up from Fangraphs about the Zips projections for 2025's. Zips likes the Cubs more this year than the past years. Dan says there's a lot of evidence that healthy hitters do worse when they play DH. Oh, I bet Michael Cotton loved writing that down. And they also break down the Bregman rumors. Jared Willis of CHGO joins the podcast. I call it Chogo, though, to talk about CubsCon and the moves the Cubs have been making all offseason. And finally, on the compound, which is now on Odyssey and Marquee, it's off of John Boy. Ian Happ came in number 92 in baseball's top 100. That sounds about right. And Ian doesn't put too much stock in any of these Pacoda projections. He says, hey, you still got to play the games. They also talked about how the players on the A's are going to be playing in pretty minor league conditions in Sacramento. And then I stopped listening to the show when their co-host who came over with them from John Boy, who is a Yankee fan, and he's on their podcast. He went on a 2-minute rant about basketball, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't care. But anyway, that tracks because it's a marquee production, and they love talking about everything except the Cubs. And that, my friends, has been your Cubs Cast Corral. Welcome back to the Bleacher Bunch on the Fans First Network. Hashtag Chance in the chat if you'd like to win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. You could win this tonight. So I did want to bring up something real quick, just because I don't want to forget about it, is that Janet, who's like the woman that pretty much is the woman that I call her, the woman that keeps Ronnie Woo Woo alive. Janet. So Ronnie is not doing so hot. He's in rehab right now, not drug rehab. I know what everybody's thinking, but he's not doing well. He's having trouble keeping his oxygen levels where they should be. And he had pneumonia. He's had a couple other issues, and he's just kind of not doing too hot. So I was talking to her today. She was filling me in on everything that's going on. And we were thinking that one thing that might be nice that everybody could kind of do individually that would brighten up his day is just send him a card. A good old-fashioned get well soon, hi Ronnie Woo Woo card. And here's where he is. You address it to Ronnie Wickers at Lincolnwood Place. That's where he is. Skilled Nursing Rehab, 7000 North McCormick, Lincolnwood, Illinois, 60712. Okay, you can pause and rewind. Like, I'm not going to do it like it's the radio and you're like in your car writing this down. But there it is. Pause to read and just send him a card. And I do want to mention this. He loves scratch-off tickets. So one thing you might want to do is throw a scratch-off ticket or two up in there because he loves them. Maybe give him a dime, too, so he could scratch him off with it as well. But anyway, I just thought that would be a nice thing to do. Let him know how you feel. And, yeah, that's it about that. I just didn't want to forget to say that because, it's just a way that we can individually do something very simple to spread some love and cheer. And make the nurses' lives miserable and the mailman miserable. They're like, oh, my God, we've got this giant sack of letters coming in for Ronnie Woo Woo. You kidding me? They'd love it.
No, that's great, Danny. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I'm going to do that because unfortunately I'm leaving. I should say that too. I'm leaving. I'm going to Poland with my theater company, Trapdoor Theater. We've got a show called The Pragmatist that's going to be doing a bunch of performances over there. I'm really excited, but because of that, I'm getting all ready to go and I don't have time to visit him right now. So I've been just kind of keeping up by talking to Janet. So to say that, I'm not going to be on the next 3 Bleacher Bunch shows. So I might record something here and there, maybe from Poland, walking around the square, upload some Cubs thoughts because I'll be paying attention to stuff. But we'll see. The time difference is rough because I guess this show would start like at 3 a.m. there. So that's cheers to our European listeners, by the way, who sometimes are tuned in. We've had them from as far away as Australia where it's morning. So let's get into some of this, Sarah. The Bregman rumors just will not cease. Like Alex Bregman, the day the season ended, I said, looked at the list. I'm like, well, we don't have a third baseman. I'm like, who's the best one? And I looked and saw who's the best one. I'm like, oh, it's Bregman. We should get Bregman. And then everybody told me for the whole offseason why I was wrong. And now they're thinking I'm right. I mean, my head's spinning. I don't know what to think anymore.
If it makes you feel better, I still think you're wrong. This is not a good signing, and the Cubs should not be doing this, and it doesn't make the team that much better. And I understand that at one point in time, Alex Bregman was a particularly good hitter, and that there are a handful of seasons where you can look at. He put up a 7.9 WAR season in 2018. He put up an 8.3 WAR season in 2019. Those are exceptional numbers, and I'm not going to try to tell anyone that those aren't acceptable numbers, but he went from batting 296, 423, 592 to in the pandemic shortened season, not so much, but we're not going to worry about that because it's like 60 games. 2021, 270, 355, 422, 2022, 259, 366, 454, 2023, 262, 363, 441. These are this is not going the right direction. And I know those are still reasonably good numbers, but when you're talking about a guy who is 32 years old, whose power is declining, who has a very similar hit style to Isaac Paredes, who just got absolutely destroyed by Wrigley Field, who is like Isaac Paredes, but costs 7 times more, but older everything about this is bad, and I don't understand why people are into this.
Well, it's because the Cubs just like these old guys, and they seem to want to do the proven thing as opposed to take a chance on Matt Shaw. Because I don't know if they want Matt Shaw to come up, play a position that he's like not supposed to really play anyway, because he's better at second. Then they can move Horner, and there's their money, and then they can shuffle the cards around, and they think they're smarter than it. But sometimes you have to know when to leave the team alone and just kind of let them all play, and it'll work itself out. Like,
I mean,
I agree.
so
I don't really
I
think
would rather, I understand what people see in Bregman that they like more than Nico, and I would rather have Nico and Shaw on the roster than Bregman and Shaw on the roster, both because of how Bregman is going to age and because it's a better investment. Like, for a team that is so obsessed with intelligent spending, having Nico and then like replacing him with a James Triantos, or like, you know, you trade for somebody or you sign a second baseman or whatever later, is an easier and cheaper thing to do than investing in 31-year-old Alex Bregman. And I also,
he wants a lot of money too. And I'm usually not that guy. I usually don't care how much money it is, but but he's like, I want 6 years and a gazillion dollars, I believe is the number.
Well, I don't think it's a gazillion, but I don't actually have the number in front of me, so I'm not going to speculate, but it's not worth it is the point. And even if you got like a Cody Bellinger special where you're like high AAV and he can opt out and then you're stuck with like high AAV Alex Bregman for a year or two. And you know what that means you can't do? It means you can't extend Kyle Tucker. And everything that this team is doing right now should be solely focused on the path that lets you extend Kyle Tucker. Because as we were talking about on Cup of Cubby Blue earlier this week with the PECOTA rankings, PECOTA never likes the Cubs. And they don't like the Cubs because the Cubs don't have exceptional talent. And they don't have the types of guys who are contact guys and power guys at the same time. And so it doesn't work well with their system is the short version. I simplified a lot. My apologies to Friends of Baseball Prospectus. But the thing, it likes Kyle Tucker. It likes Kyle Tucker to the tune of like one of the 5 or 6 best hitters in the league. And the reason it likes Kyle Tucker is because he's not just an above average bat, and he's not just an all-star bat. He is a elite superstar player that the Cubs can put on their team for a very long time. He has a better projection next season than Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper has a very good projection from PECOTA. So I just say all of that to say, if there is a 0.01% chance that Alex Bregman prevents you from extending Kyle Tucker, you don't sign Alex Bregman. Period. The end. And I'm not sure he's that much better than Nico Horner and Matt Shaw anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I'm kind of excited about Matt Shaw. You see his numbers. You see what all the the smart prospect watchers are saying about him. They're all excited. And the fact that he's a contact bat is kind of exciting now, because I'm kind of convinced by this thought that I've heard recently is that in the playoffs, you face such elite pitching so regularly that you just sit there and you watch these big sluggers who strike out a lot, strike out, because the pitching's so good. And the pitching's way ahead of the hitting in general. So then if you've got a dude who can just get the bat on the ball some way, knows how to just poke him this way and that. Now, I'm not saying Kyle Tucker's that guy, but Matt Shaw might be that guy. And so maybe your Nico Horner becomes way more like that style of bat. Seiya, I think, is that kind of bat, that he knows what he's doing with the stick. And that becomes that hitting tool becomes way more valuable against elite pitching, where you just need to scratch a few runs across to win the game. And so that's maybe how you get through the playoffs. I don't know. It's a thing I heard, and I had never thought of it before, so I find it interesting.
No, I think that is interesting, and I think that's correct. Like, the type of offensive game that the Cubs are trying to put together is interesting here. Kyle Tucker certainly makes that better by having an elite bat in that mix who can drive a bunch of guys in. But I want to
power.
But this is my point. Like, what the Cubs have been missing is that elite bat. Cody Bellinger was not it. Dansby Swanson is not it. Like, Seiya Suzuki, who has been a very, very good above average hitter for the Cubs, is not an elite bat. And adding Kyle Tucker to the team gives you that elite bat. Like, I would say, based on metrics like WRC plus, WOBA, home runs, on base percentage. The two best hitters for the Cubs in the last couple of seasons have been Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki. They're consistent. They're above average. They're above average to the tune of like 15 to 25% above league average. That is great. You will take it. And Kyle Tucker is a standard deviation or two above that in terms of capability. And so you don't do anything that prevents you as a franchise from extending Kyle Tucker, which is why I have little Yemper's quote here. If Kyle Tucker can't be extended for any reason, it is on the Cubs, not the player they signed. The Cubs need to put their big boy pants on and spend like they are the third largest market. I agree with you. And if I was running the Chicago Cubs, I would not consider doing any deal with Alex Bregman to be a barrier to signing Kyle Tucker. But I think that what we've seen from Jed Hoyer and company and Tom Ricketts and company, and like, I truly don't care where you think this blame lies. I think it's shared fairly equally between the two. I think they complement each other here. I think that part of the reason Ricketts puts up with Hoyer is because Hoyer does his bidding. And part of the reason Hoyer likes Ricketts is because Ricketts makes it so that he doesn't have to make hard decisions or take big risks. It doesn't matter what we would do. It matters what they would do. And they are not the type of team that is going to do like some sort of high AAV risky deal that Bregman might opt into, and then also extend Kyle Tucker and put themselves over the luxury tax, which puts us as fans and as the people who they put on the field well, we're not the people they put on the field. I said that weirdly, but us as fans, period. And the people they put on the field in a worse position. So I don't know, man.
To me, it's more about what we're deciding to use, which would be the Matt Shaw route, which it's exciting to me, just like that kind of player. I mean, I know he's not like a really big dude, and maybe I'm not going to be impressed by the look at him like Chris Bryant, maybe when he came up, where he's just like a large man who had a big swing. But this guy, there's something about him that when I hear him described, and when I see him play, he's quick. He's quick with the stick. And like, I don't know, there's something that I know I'm a sucker for, that like scrappy dude that could kind of make it happen. But I don't know, man.
You and Jed Hoyer.
I know Nicky Lopez. We got a whole team of them sometimes.
Matt Shaw, I think, is better than Nicky Lopez, to be clear.
He's better than Nick. He's like Nick Madrigal if he was good.
No, he's better than that. I mean, I think Matt Shaw is probably in the Nico Horner category and might have more power than Nico Horner. I think he probably strikes out more and would hit for more power than Nico Horner would be sort of the trade-off you'd get there. He's fine. I don't think he's Jose Ramirez. I don't think he's elite. And I know you're not like trying to push Shaw into that tier.
I'm just saying he probably doesn't strike out. He doesn't strike out as much as some of the other guys. Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, he hasn't swung a bat in the majors.
What is his strikeout rate? I haven't even looked at it recently. Hold on.
Well, recently he hasn't struck out at all. He hasn't struck out all the way since last season.
Yeah, well, last season at AAA, he struck out 19.7% of the time. So that is not Nico tier. That's more like, it's not, I don't know. It's kind of around Seiya. Seiya strikes out more.
So somewhere in
like
between
Cody Bellinger, I guess.
So Nico and Seiya, but I just, something about his makeup I like. Something about his tenacity. It's just, this is eyeball test stuff. When I see him playing, like I see a man that just like wants to get on base really bad.
I like Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw's great.
Yeah, and that's what
he should play, and that's why you shouldn't sign Bregman, because you have
precisely. So I'm just excited about Matt Shaw. So and it's not like one of those like it is an either or situation. Only one person can play it, but you really are blocking Matt Shaw at bats in the major leagues if you sign Bregman. Probably a whole damned year of them at that point, unless but now you're moving Nico. But like, why are you doing all this stuff? Nico's not going to be ready to start the year, though, it looks like. So that might be part of that. We get Bregman, you put Matt Shaw in there, Nico comes back, you figure that situation out. I don't know. You got a DH to play with.
The DH is Seiya, though.
Doesn't that seem, though, like a lot of moving parts? Like, that's one thing if you're playing Stratomatic baseball or like you're just doing it online with your friends. These are real people who have houses in the town. You know what I mean? They're not, you can't just move them around like that. like people like to in their brains. So that's just a lot of moving parts. You sign Bregman, you trade Nico, Matt Shaw plays for second, but then you could trade Nico like a month in the season. Like, what are you thinking? Like, none of this is going to happen. So I think the most likely thing is we don't sign Bregman and Matt Shaw plays unless he totally, and you give him what, half a year to figure something out.
I just don't understand. So I'm so against the signing Bregman situation. Like, I don't understand why you signed Vidal Brujan and picked up Gage Workman as a Rule 5 and traded for Ben Cowles and have Nicky Lopez in the minors and added John Birdie so that in the event Matt Shaw doesn't work out, 4 of those guys can play third base passably, like not as well as you're hoping Matt Shaw can, but like Birdie had a 95 WRC plus last year. He's not a terrible infield defender. He can play third. Like that's a pretty solid line. Vidal Brujan is a terrible hitter, like below Mendoza line, below the euchre line, y'all, like well below the euchre line, but he can defend. And you gave up Matt Mervis for him. So you must think there's something there that is more than the Mendoza line career he has put up so far. But Gage Workman, like I'm intrigued. Gage Workman, Zips really likes Gage Workman and Pacoda really likes Gage Workman. And anytime 2 smart projection systems that are very different are both in on the same guy, I'm intrigued. And so I just don't understand why you have all of that depth at third base. And you also have Matt Shaw. And you're like, oh, we got to go get Bregman. That's mind-boggling. But can I talk about a different depth chart issue I see with this team?
Yeah.
What happens if Michael Busch goes down? Do we have a backup first baseman?
Yeah, you sign Anthony Rizzo real quick because nobody's signing him. You just get Rizzo back.
This is bananas. Like the backup first baseman when I looked at the Cubs depth chart the other day was Moises Ballesteros. And Moises Ballesteros, for people who have not seen him play, is listed
catcher
at 5'8" and built like Kyle Schwarber was in 2014. And I love Moises Ballesteros. He's going to be my favorite player. There is no world where Moises Ballesteros isn't my favorite Cub, assuming that he comes up at any point in time next season. It's going to be obnoxious. I apologize in advance. And the man is not a first baseman.
I'm thinking to myself, I want to, when he makes his Cub debut,
I'm going to be loud.
Yeah, you're going to be loud, and I want to be with you. And that's all I know, because we're just going to stand on our chairs and watch that thing happen. And I bet you, I'm calling it now, he's pulling a Contreras, he's hitting a home run in his opening at bat.
Oh, Danny, were you at CubsCon so they did the prospect panel, and they had James Triantos is up there, Matt Shaw's up there, and Moises Ballesteros is up there. One of the questions all the guys get is who's the man in the system, the veteran that really guided you? And look, I already was all in on Moises Ballesteros because he's a catcher and he's built like a fire hydrant and he's got a hit tool. It's fun. And Moises Ballesteros like, oh, it's Wilson Contreras. And I was just like, I let out a scream from the back. I apologize. Y'all probably heard it at home. I was like, well, we're done here. We're done here. The man was just like Wilson Contreras. He did so much for me. I was like, oh yeah, we're good.
But does he know he shouldn't say that around Ricketts? Because that'll get his ass traded.
Damn, man. All the Wilson Contreras dudes are good.
So we should, I don't want to give short shrift to our new bullpen arm. We just get all these guys too. It's just sloppy seconds from the Astros and the Dodgers over and over again. That's us. All we do now. We decide these guys that have been like, well, he was in the World Series. Now he'll be in our World Series. And it just doesn't work out that way. But I'm going to put up no, that's not it. Here's the numbers. This guy's name is Brazier. I know
it's Brazier.
Well, that not according to me.
Well, according to the Dodgers games I've watched.
Well, I don't watch Dodgers games. I just make fun of people's last names that look like the name of a bra.
This is why both of us are here, Danny.
So Ryan
doing our parts.
Ryan Brazier, he's okay, right? I mean, he's been around for a long time. He was with Boston for a long time. You like the Red Sox? Did you like him over there when he played for him?
He was, years. I literally kind of forgot he was there. He's like I'm trying to think of the Cubs equivalent.
I'm putting up his stats. He's got a career 3.85 ERA over his 8 years. 285 innings pitched. He strikes out 8.9 per inning. It was 8 last year. Doesn't walk a lot of guys. Last year he didn't anyway, 1.6, but that was only in 28 innings.
What I'm about to say is not right relative to how they throw. So this is not a comp for like talent or what you can throw, but more a like who the guy is in your pen situation. Reminds me a little bit of Smiley in the sense that like had like one season where like, oh yeah, Smiley can come in. This is great. And then like a lot of like, I don't know, man, it could be fine. But also like a late inning guy, not an early inning guy, like trusted in the 7th, like trusted in the 7th. That's my memory of Ryan Bleacher.
So this guy, but get a load of his ERA plus in 2023 in his 38 innings with the Dodgers, 621.
Yeah, but that's why small sample sizes are ridiculous.
Oh, I know, but that's not that small. I mean, that's 38.2 innings for a reliever. Maybe a little bit more you would see, but still, that's not terribly small. That's like a good 2 months or no, like 4 months of the season. Wouldn't you say for a reliever? Something like that.
Something about that's weird.
Yeah, 621 is a weird number. You don't see that ever.
I mean, he has a 320 with the Red Sox a few seasons before. I mean, yeah, he has his moments clearly.
That was in 12 innings though. So, 38 is a lot more. So anyway, he's a
38.2, Danny.
Yeah. So I kind of like it. We talked about it on Monday. We just got all these guys that they keep adding to the bullpen. You got the dudes that are riding the shuttle back and forth from Iowa that we saw, your Luke Littles, your Porter Hodge at the end. You went and you got your Presley closer. Now you add this Brazier guy, and you're looking pretty solid. Now you're fighting last year's war because you blew all those saves. If you had these guys last year, you're definitely in the playoffs, at least.
They're always fighting last year's war. That's what this front office does. I mean, this is good. Like, it's a good pickup. I like it. It's fine. Better than was this who they let Festa go over? Or was it somebody else? Was it Rob Z who went? I don't remember.
Went.
Yeah. Either one of those. Like, this is a better pitcher, so that's fine, and I'm good for it. But I don't know. I feel like they're still one arm away, and I think it's a starting pitcher. I don't think it's a reliever. And if what they want to do with like this Bregman Nico move is get a starting pitcher, I'm maybe into it, but I still don't like the idea of signing Bregman.
It seems like a dumb thing to do, especially like up the middle of the infield when you got Nico and Dansby have been working together for a few years. This isn't a video game. If you put a new guy over there, they have a certain rhythm to the way that they move together and they practice together and they play a lot of games together. Like, you don't want to mess up that. You're good defensively up the middle. Don't screw with it, I think.
Yeah, I was responding to this comment,
Jeff,
and I had the deal only works if Nico's moved for a rotation piece. I can see that.
Like, sure,
I just still don't like it. I'd rather have Michael King.
Take King or Cease. I mean, I'd take either one of them. I don't, but it makes the rotation better, either one. So they're building it. It certainly is a better squad than last year. They solved some of the problems we went into last year. I didn't think we had a closer. Guess what? We didn't. I never thought Alzolay was the guy. And I wanted him to be. I didn't see it. Like, it wasn't elite enough. And you make the man a closer video. It was cute and everything.
It was so fun.
He was not. He looked like such a little boy in that. You got to be a little more fierce.
He was fierce though. He was fierce.
Too cute.
He was fierce, and he was energetic. He was walking out to the music you could clap to. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I miss Alzolay, and I'm sad that Robbie Z's gone. Robbie, even though I didn't really want to see him pitch, but if he did pitch for the Cubs, it would have been a great answer to a future Cubs trivia question, which was who is the last person from the 2016 championship team to play for the Cubs? And it would have been
Wow.
Robbie Z. Well, it could still change.
I'm like for a brief moment in time, like it could. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it would have been right now it's Hendo. So,
I'm waiting for the day when Jed Hoyer has been fired and somebody brilliant comes in and Wilson Contreras signs a 1-year deal to end his career with the Chicago Cubs, like the DH first baseman guy, and he hits like 25 bombs and does Wilson things. That's going to be my favorite season.
Yeah, no, I'll be there for that one too, God willing. So I had a great conversation, and you should go listen to it with Josh Langoff, who's one of the Wrigley Field's organists. Super nice guy, and he's into a lot of cool stuff. For example, he blogs about banda music, which, if you don't know what that, it's like Mexican married with a big band. Like, I think it's different than mariachi, but it's like, they have a giant band and they wear the costumes and everything. But then they also have, anyway, go look it up. Tigres del Norte. He's a big fan of that kind of music, also liturgical music. And that's what brings me to this, which is that Josh is going on a trip with his church to go help some people in Madagascar. And they do all sorts of cool stuff to help people out there, including one of the things he told me about was helping. They don't have any money, so they don't have menstrual pads. So one of the things that they invented is this like way to like make your own or something like that. So they go down there with all this stuff. Anyway, he was telling me about it in our conversation, including the other things that they do with the kids down there and the people that live there. And anyway, super interesting guy. And he has the Banda Music blog. He's got the liturgical music blog, and he plays organ at Wrigley. And he's going to Madagascar, and they are doing a chili. It's not a cook-off, but you get different kinds of chili. Here, let me put up the screenshot of what happens. Okay, so it's at St. James the Less, and forget which suburb this is. I'll look that up in a second. But John Benedek and Josh Langoff are going to be for a fundraiser at the parish hall. They're going to have live karaoke. They're going to have a couple musical games, and they're going to serve up a dinner of chili, sides, and decadent desserts. There's beef chili, turkey chili, hearty vegan chili, mac and cheese for the kids, wine, beer, and NA drinks will be available. And there's like a nursery and childcare as well. So you can go there, sing, and they're all raising money for their trip to Madagascar. They have a church partnership down there with the Malagasy people. It's like $60 down to $10 to go. So, and you can go and probably give as much money as you'd like to help send them there. But the date is Sunday the 16th? Sunday the 16th. I'm looking up St. James the Less right now. St. James the Less is in Highland, Indiana? No.
Terry E says Northfield, Illinois.
Northfield. Yeah, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat here. It's an Episcopal.
I hope you're right,
church.
Terry, because I don't know.
I just found it. Here it is. And I know this is correct because it's got John and Josh's face on their website there. So
Northfield is correct.
Northfield. I'm going to put it up right there so you can pause and take a look. So that sounds like a lot of fun. It's at 4:30 p.m. And that's why Josh wanted to come on. He's like, hey, could you help me promote this thing? And I said, absolutely. If you come on and talk about Banda music and all sorts of, and being the Wrigley organist and how you come up with all the trolling songs. And we talked for about 45 minutes. So certainly check out that conversation. But right now I'm going to play about 11 minutes of it. So please just stay tuned and watch that. And that'll pretty much be the end of our show. So why don't we do, and then I'm going to play a brand new song to end it. It's from, I didn't have time to make a video. But I will just play the song. It's about Tom Ricketts and a little quote he made. Maybe you can guess what I did, Sarah. A quote that he made at CubsCon. What 80s hit did I use to go to make fun of Tom's unfortunate quote at CubsCon this year? You're kind of muted for some reason. Maybe it's that I still have your.
No, I muted myself so one of the things we have not talked about during this, there's a protest going on outside my window right now. And so I've been muting on and off, and I hope, I think we managed to cover up the background noise, but if you heard background noise, it's the protest going on outside my window. And honestly, go protest, people. But it was it the breaking even quote?
Yes, it was the break even quote.
So now I'm wondering what the song could be, though. Break even.
A 1980s classic hit. The Patreon people already know because I released it to them already, the song.
Can you give me a hint beyond the 80s thing?
All right, I'll give you the first line.
Okay.
Just a billionaire.
Hold on. Don't stop believing.
Yeah.
Something break even.
Times break and even.
Love it. That's
So
good.
That's
good.
coming tonight too, right after the conversation with Josh. But let's hashtag chant in the chat right now, and we're gonna pick a winner. Oh wait. I just updated my system, so now I get all these crazy new warning messages being like, don't do that. All right, are we ready? This is your last chance to get into the chance so you can win a chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. Here we go. We're picking. On down the street, we're picking. On down the street, we're picking. Who's gonna win? And Artie Boucher, the luckiest man in Sun Ranto history, takes it again. Mr. Fourth Row, congratulations, my friend. You guys saw that, right? That was on the screen?
I mean, I saw you did the thing, but I really wasn't paying that much attention. Somebody yelled something outside my window, and I was like,
I wasn't. I was looking at the chance thing. I was like, I don't even know if that was on screen. I thought I shared it.
No, it was on screen. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
So here's Sarah. Thanks for being here tonight with the Bleacher Bunch and sharing your immense baseball knowledge with the world. And I guess we'll talk again on Monday with Cup of Cubby Blue. Monday or Tuesday, we'll have a new show for you. And hopefully the Cubs will not have signed Alex Bregman. So here is our conversation with Josh Langoff. And stay tuned afterwards for the brand new Tom Ricketts song.
No Bregman, no peace, people.
No Bregman, no peace. No Bregman, no peace. No Bregman. I've got Josh Langoff, one of the Wrigley Field's organists, here on the Bleacher Bunch today. And Josh, where are you right now? You really have set the scene for yourself. I see organ pipes behind you.
I am in the organ loft of my church where I work. This is the Episcopal Church of St. James the Less in Northfield.
Very cool. Well, is it the perfect backdrop? They don't have that on the regular Zoom backgrounds.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Let me choose choir loft. Yeah, exactly. Market that, and St. James the Less, I looked that up. There's a lot of people throughout the history and Bible that end up with the name the Less. I always feel bad for them historically.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's derogatory, I mean,
it's only because there's an older James.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why he gets the Less, but it's like the little brother of James. They're both named James, but either way, it's like you'd think after 2,000 years, the Catholics or the Lutherans could come up with a different name for the guy, like
like
younger James
or the fisherman or whatever he did. Yeah.
Jamesito, like diminutize it in Spanish or something, something like that. Either way, I wanted you to come on the show because you're promoting a really cool night that's coming up for St. James the Less. And that is a big trip you're taking to Madagascar with the church. And tell me a little bit about it. I saw your Facebook post, which I'll put up. You can pause to read, I guess.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thanks. So this is a trip. Our parish has a long-standing relationship with a couple parishes in southern Madagascar, which is a very impoverished place in the world. Dry, but these people are just really enthusiastic Christians. And through a couple at our church, we've met up with them and have helped them in various ways. And it's what I like about this ministry is that it's reciprocal. It's not like we're going over there to tell them how to do things or whatever. Like, we help each other out. And so I'm looking forward to it as a potentially life-changing experience. This will be in July. We're going to have a music conference with a bunch of the church musicians over there. And most of the funds are raised, but we are still raising money to fund the transport of all these Malagasy musicians to the conference, and to pay our translator over there, which is necessary because none of us speaks Malagasy very well. And so this fundraiser is going to be at our church, St. James the Less in Northfield, on Sunday, February 16th. It's at 4:30. And the fundraiser is an evening with the Wrigley Field organists. So John Benedek will be there. I'll be there. We'll be doing piano karaoke. We'll be playing piano games. We'll be playing music in the parish hall. There's going to be food. There's going to be some excellent desserts. I got to try one after church on Sunday. And so, yeah, it should be a good time raising money for a good cause. And I do want to note that this fundraiser is not sponsored by Cubs or Cubs charities. Cubs and Cubs charities do amazing work, but this is an independent thing sponsored by St. James the Less.
Right. Yeah. No, it's obviously the Cubs don't have a denomination. In fact, right. I believe they're a denomination in and of themselves. Like, yeah, it's the closest I come to religion, Josh. You know, the Chicago Cubs. We have our own saints. We have, Saint Nick Madrigal the Less. We have, but I'll throw up a picture. I'll throw up a picture of you and John Benedict. This is over at CubsCon, and Sunday, February 16th at St. John the Less, and there's chili involved. I understand it, and I'll put up the so people can kind of pause and read this if you want to see the information just in print form.
I make a mean vegan chili. The spoon stands up in it. So we're going to have that, but we'll also have beef and turkey varieties.
Yeah, beef, turkey, vegan chili, kid-friendly mac and cheese, wine and beer.
Yeah.
Non-alcohol too, for some reason. And then there's going to be a nursery and childcare. And your ticket includes an optional karaoke song accompanied by one of you guys, either
right. We have karaoke.
John.
They're online.
And as you said, you're raising money for Madagascar. Here's the second page, and there's different tickets suggestions, donation suggestions that you can employ here, because lemurs are native to Madagascar, as are pretty much every animal that doesn't exist on another continent is either on Madagascar or on Australia.
Right.
You can give the different lemur levels. So there's the ring-tailed lemur for $60. You get the show, the chili, the desserts for anyone over 12, and alcohol for anyone over 21, I would imagine, unless you got a St. John the Greater ID. And black and white ruffed lemur is $50. Where what's missing from that?
What's missing is the tort to take home.
The take home tort. Yeah. And then there's the sportive lemur for $15, where you just get the show and the food, and then
that's for a child. Yeah.
Oh, a child. Yeah.
They get
and
the
then
mac and cheese, yeah.
Anyway, there's different $10. You can get an extra karaoke song when you're there. For an extra $10, you can also get a frozen chocolate tort. But this is all to raise money to send you to Madagascar. And as somebody who's going to Poland in a week with my theater, it's expensive to move a lot of people to have this life-changing experience. Like, we're bringing people to Europe right now that have never been to Europe before. We're performing in the mountains at the Vikevich Theater, who wrote the play that we're doing.
Oh my gosh,
that's what we're invited for. These are life-changing experiences for actors, and I'm sure this will be for you and some of because you've never been out of the country, you said.
I never have, no. And ours, it sounds like, is a smaller expedition than yours. It's just going to be 3 of us from our parish going.
Okay, we got 12 or something like that. Yeah.
I fully expect it'll be great. Just to meet the people over there is what I'm most looking forward to.
Much nicer than Americans.
Kabosi, this weird 4-string. It's like a guitar, but the frets don't go all the way across. And I don't know how to play guitar. I mean, I understand the principle, but I can't do it. So, but I'm looking forward to learning how this thing works. So yeah,
there's an amazing, if you ever get down, have you been to spring training in Phoenix?
I never have. No.
So there's a great museum down there called the Musical Instrument Museum, which is laid out not only by continent, but then by country inside the continent.
I've heard of this place. Yeah.
It's incredible. You know, you just go, you put on a pair of headphones and it automatically shows you what's playing on the screen of each country, the little TV screen, which is they've collected footage of people playing these instruments, some native, some classical, different classes of people playing different instruments from that country. They've collected footage of that, but not only have they collected footage, but the instruments are right there for you to see as well within the exhibit. So it really is, you know, as a musician, this, you know, this already, and you haven't really traveled the world as much. Well, I've traveled quite a bit in my life, and I can tell you this much. Music is a universal language because you don't need to speak the language. If somebody's just sitting there banging on something, you can go over there and bang something with them and you're making music, brother. And it's such an amazing thing to share. You can tell why some societies and cultures have been so scared of music that they banned it.
Mm-hmm. Because it's easy for the message to travel. Yeah.
And the history of the Silk Road is such that, you know, you watch a flute get changed through as it moves from place to place. Oh, where'd you get that thing? Well, I went all the way to China and I brought it back to France. And now we make this new kind of music. And then some composer hears it. And it really is like a way to share the world with each other. And it's been this way for a long time, you know, more so than the written word, because most people don't read throughout history. They don't, they're not literate, but they know how to bang on something. And like, as cave people, we've been doing this, you know.
Very true. Yeah.
So it's the most primal way to, I think, connect with people. And I love that you're going to Madagascar and connecting with those people. I was going to make fun of the fact that it's called a missionary trip because I did look up. I'm like, oh, what's the religion in Madagascar? And it's Christian. I'm like, well, your job's already done.
It's
brother.
not like a proselytizing missionary trip. Like, you know, it's more of a mission. And so the mission is to like help with the diocese. You know, one of the guy who's going with often works like on the accounting there, the straightening out the finances and everything. So there's a really exciting program called Days for Girls, which is basically the manufacture of reusable pads for women, you know, on their cycle. And it allows them to be able to keep working basically while they're menstruating once a month. I don't know if you want to include this in the podcast, but
absolutely,
it's a fantastic ministry. And it also is sort of a like a micro grant employment path then, because then people can make their own pads and sell them in Madagascar. So just a really remarkable ministry that I've been introduced to just since coming to work at this church. So.
I've got Josh Langoff, one of
just a billionaire owning the Chicago Cubs. Won't spend like LA, their payroll's too high. Come to Wrigley Field, drink a $30 beer, while the fans are getting gouged on the ticket price. Mets and Dodgers, buying all the best players, fielding the best starting nine. Cheap ass just a billionaire owning the Chicago Cubs. Won't spend like LA, their payroll's too high. Come to Wrigley Field, drink a $30 beer, while the fans are getting gouged on the ticket price. Mets and Dodgers buying all the best players, fielding the best starting nine. Cheap ass rickets underneath the luxury tax. Haven't done much in a while. Tom's break in even comes underachieving and lower payroll. Tom's break in even 83 win season, third place, Chicago. Tom's break in even.